guys, we're back talking some more of the Lord of the Rings of Power on the channel this week. This is the penultimate episode, believe it or not. Last episode, in my opinion, was the best episode out of the bunch. This episode, not as great, doesn't reach that same high level here, but it's a solid one. Laying down a good groundwork for the finale, and also some big changes to some characters' backstories that even I personally wasn't a huge fan of. And I know a lot of people are going to actually be raging about that in the comment section and online, but we're going to get to that eventually. If you've seen the episode, you obviously know what I'm talking about. Of course, we ended last week with the creation of Mount Doom, and picking up right afterwards, seeing just the amount of devastation left behind in its wake. Ashes covering everything, buildings on fire and collapsing, and many people wounded or dead. I mean, even a horse rides by on fire. Yet somehow Galadriel is untouched. I mean, I get it. Plot armor, Galadriel survives many thousands of years after this, but I mean, come on. Like, no injuries at all after all of this destruction around her. All of this general destruction, though, does cause the groups to fracture. Galadriel's with Theo, and then Elendil, Queen Regent Miriel, and the rest of her army. Each of them are both facing their own adversities on their way back to the encampment. Since many of these stories are slowly converging, it was interesting to see that even the Harfoot story was impacted by the eruption of Mount Doom, since these craters destroyed many of the trees that they could have picked all these fruit from. And as suspicious and scary as the stranger is, he actually was a very sweet individual here. I mean, he was still scary as he was conjuring up things to bring the tree back to life, but it was a nice gesture. It's just unfortunate that they made the mistake of having him go into the woods to look for his people all by himself, and he didn't get to see all of the apples bloom on the trees after he revived them. It really was just a case of extremely bad timing, since those mysterious figures we saw a couple episodes back return, and it seems like they are looking for the stranger, and they don't look particularly friendly, so I don't understand why Nori would go up and tell them, hey, the stranger's in the woods over there, because they didn't seem friendly, and they weren't friendly when you try and chastise them, and the next thing you know, they burn down your entire caravan. So that was a pretty awkward exchange there. With both groups, Galadriel and Theo, and then Elendil and the rest, both trying to make their way back to the encampment, this part of the episode, it definitely had the most twists and turns and a big reveal that changes a lot of stuff, especially for Galadriel. First off, I did not expect Queen Regent Miriel to become blind after the explosion of Mount Doom and what followed. I did feel bad laughing, though, because she puts on this thing over her eyes and she reminded me a lot of Kenshi from Mortal Kombat. I'm sorry it's supposed to be taken seriously, but that's all I could think about anytime they panned to her and she had this on her face. Whenever we pan back to Galadriel and Theo, there are some good moments and there are some bad moments. I did like that Galadriel is kind of opening up here and there, and she does so once again with Theo, kind of showing him the ropes about being a warrior. Also attempting to comfort him a little bit because he tries to blame himself for everything, which, to be honest, a large portion of this is his fault. But nevertheless, it was still a sweet moment. You do feel for her as she opens up more about the pain and loss of losing not just her brother, but her husband Celeborn died in this battle too. That just throws off so much stuff in the timeline. That's why I am so confused by this new development, whatever you want to call it, to change the backstory, due to the fact that so many things happen with Celeborn in the future of the Lord of the Rings. I mean, first of all, the daughter that they have marries Elrond, and then they go and have Arwen, who goes and marries Aragorn, so I hope that there's some sort of explanation here for why Celeborn died, or maybe she thinks he died. It was pretty strange that we never brought up Celeborn at this point, but I thought maybe we were just gonna not touch upon him in this season, not the fact that he was dead this entire time. It'll be very intriguing to see where we go with that for the rest of season 1, and also the fact that we have Halbrand, and he still is extremely suspicious. I still think he's Sauron, and we didn't get to see him much this episode because he was laid up injured, but he is able to get on a horse and go with Galadriel to get some elven medicine, so I still think he's going to end up probably being Sauron in the next episode, so we'll see. Speaking of Elrond and the fact that potentially his future wife no longer exists, every time he is with Durin, that is some of my favorite stuff in the Rings of Power. Their friendship is my favorite dynamic of all the different storylines, and that is no different here. Since Elrond is still attempting to negotiate with Durin's father and the rest of the Dwarf Lords, since they do need to access the Mithril mines to save the elves, so it is a bit rude that his father just says no. He's not interested in helping the elves at all. They can go die off. He doesn't think it's safe, which I think he is kind of right here. We get details later that kind of proves that maybe there is some danger down there, but still in the moment, you want to see Elrond and the elves live. Of course, we know that they do live because this is a prequel series after all, but it still is great seeing Durin defy his father and go down there and try and dig for the Mythor regardless because Elrond is his best friend. He still gets caught almost immediately by his father while he's down there, but before he does get caught, I did love the banter between Elrond and Durin, debating if Elrond actually did throw the challenge so Durin would win, and the other possibility here of learning Durin's actual name since they, this whole entire family is just called Durin. But they do have another name they go by that only their closest friends and family know, and it was almost there. We were so close for Elrond to getting that moment here with Durin before they got caught. Also, just good for Durin for finally standing up to his father for everything. It's going to be interesting, though, seeing what's on the horizon for the finale, because we do tease the fact that there is a Balrog down there. That's probably going to be pretty messy, along with the whole stuff with Galadriel and Halbrand. Then you have Nori and a group of Harfoot going into the forest to track down the stranger, and we even end off with a little bit of Adar and his orc army, seeing the official name change of the Southlands into Mordor. Yeah, all around, it's still not as good of an episode as last week's episode, but I think episode all around, other than the Galadriel stuff involving the changes to the backstory, I think it was okay. I'm gonna try and be somewhat rational here to the backstory changes for Galadriel, and maybe, just maybe, there is more to the story here, but if this is what sticks with this, where Celeborn is actually dead, I'm gonna be really angry. I'm not gonna lie here with you. Even though I have kind of given this show the benefit of the doubt, I think the show overall has been fine. That might change my mind. But anyway, make sure you share your thoughts down below. What did you think of this episode, the penultimate episode of Season 1 of The Rings of Power? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? How are you feeling about the changes to Galadriel's backstory? I imagine people are going to be quite mad. But anyway, make sure you share your thoughts down below in the comment section. It's part of the fun is down in the comments with you guys in the comment section down below. Thank you guys always send the reviews. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video. Also, subscribe to the channel so there's update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, I'll see you guys later.